Hello, I'm Scott Bogey here with Noah Kiszka ahead of his pro debut against Matthew Santos. How are you doing today?
I'm good, brother. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. And how are you feeling ahead of the upcoming fight?
I feel good. It's been a really long camp. I've been supposed to fight since March. A couple fights fell through, so I've had a really long camp, but it's good. Took care of my body, took care of my diet well, stayed in shape, and it's finally here, so I'm excited.
And how frustrating is that? Because obviously you're wanting to get into the cage. However, fights are just dropping out, dropping out. So you're having to stay ready for the opportunity. And fight camp, they aren't cheap either. So you're having to fork out just extending it even further.
Yeah, for sure. They're definitely expensive, especially, I kind of live by a saying, it's good training isn't cheap and cheap training isn't good. So, you definitely want to like make sure that part's as good as it can be, but it's hard because you kind of lose motivation at times. You'll be like, "Oh, like I have a fight, let's go. I'm excited." And then, 2 weeks later they don't take the fight or something happens and you don't get matched up. So that part's tough, but other than that, I mean, training is my lifestyle. I don't really change anything up. Like my life is a fight camp, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I still do 2 to 3 sessions a day, whether I'm getting ready to grapple in a tournament, whether I'm just hanging out after a fight. I'm still doing multiple sessions a day, so not much changes.
And where are you training just now? Because I did see that you were training at like Borough House. However, I have seen you have done some training at Xtreme Couture as well.
So I did the camp at Xtreme Couture. I went for a week with my coach, and then came back for a few weeks, and then went back to Extreme for another 2 weeks, and then I'm finishing camp here. So camp started in Extreme, and then finished up here, Bower House, and then there's another gym that I work with a lot as well, Kaizen MMA. I do a lot of my sparring there. So.
And how was it to be able to train with the best? Because obviously, if Xtreme Couture, they have amazing athletes there, including the former middleweight champion Sean Strickland. So they do have that track record of getting people to UFC champions.
It was pretty cool. A little bit like I've met a lot of like famous, semi-famous wrestlers, fighters before, but this one was a little different because I was like side by side with them, practicing with them, like training with them. After like the first day or two, that all like changed, and it kind of is like refreshing almost. You realize that you're not as far behind as you think you are. Like you can kind of hang with these dudes, and then that was the biggest thing for me. I think it was a big mental shift, not only in like the way that I trained, but just my mentality around the sport, like knowing that just lacking a little bit of experience, and I'm right there with all those guys.
And do you feel like being able to know that you are able to hang with the best, it just gives you that little bit of a confidence boost to be able to go into these fights knowing you can hang with this guy, you've hanged with the best, you can definitely get this win.
Yeah, for sure. It's a confidence builder, but it's also just kind of a reminder as well as a confidence builder. I a lot of times like maybe I have a bad round or like a bad day, and then I think back to times like when I was at Extreme and I was doing well, and it's kind of just I don't know. It's yeah, pretty much. It's refreshing.
And have you had to change anything about your training due to obviously this now being a professional game, it's longer rounds, more available in your arsenal?
So my training, I've always pretty much trained like a professional since day one. My first training partner was a professional MMA fighter. And so my rounds have pretty much always been fives, unless I was getting ready for like an amateur fight. I was always in the room doing fives. I was always working with pros. So my training didn't really change. I'm still, morning and nighttime training no matter what. But I think two things that really changed for me a lot were just my recovery and my diet for sure. My diet over the last year has been um, a big part of my game. I think I just started like eating really clean food, started weighing my food, started tracking everything, and just taking care of my body. Doing simple stuff for recovery, like chirotherapy, just walking on a treadmill, like simple stuff that you don't even realize is taking care of your body while you're doing it.
And do you bring anyone in to help you with like the weight cuts and that, or do you just do that yourself?
So I haven't before because I was at 145, and that was not much of a cut for me. The heaviest I get, like I still try to compete in jujitsu and stuff in the
Yeah.
off season. So the heaviest I'll really get is like 155, 160. So I was always like making 45 without a stress. This camp though, I am going down to 35 to be a professional. It's just
Yeah.
it fits my body better, and I think I'll be able to beat a lot of really good guys a lot earlier at 135. So I did team up with a nutritionist now. His name is Eric Pena. He is actually the nutritionist for Kayla Harrison, Dustin Poirier, a lot of the ATT guys. So I linked up with him 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we talk 2 or 3 times a week right now, and then we'll talk a lot during fight week and after the weigh-ins. So and that part is nice because it kind of doesn't take the stress off of me in terms of like what I'm going to eat, but at least I have like numbers and things to go off of that he's telling me to fit my diet. So it's been a big help for sure.
I was going to bring that up because, like you're saying, this is at bantamweight. Is that just because you felt like you can make the weight, so to try and get that extra 10 pounds advantage, you've been able to go down there, or is it because, like with weigh-ins, I know here in the UK you have got same day weigh-ins. Is that playing into a factor now that you're a professional? It's the day before.
No, we every fight I've had at amateurs was day before weigh-ins. It's just I wasn't a particularly huge 45 to begin with. I was only like 10 pounds over the weight limit, so it just makes more sense to for my especially with like the way my body is set up, just to just make the cut to 35 and just to take it super professionally. It's like one of those things where I know and my coaches know that it can be done. We just needed some help to do it, and that's where Eric Pena comes in. So
And you brought up your wrestling background a little bit. You were also training as a with wrestling in your uni days. I think it's like Fairmount Academy College. I think it was
Fairmont State, yep.
Fairmount. How was that experience for you?
Just wrestling in college.
Yeah,
It was fun. It was a little bit bad. It was good and bad. I learned a lot, and I definitely got really good at wrestling from it. One of the years I was in school, though, I had a shoulder surgery that actually pushed me to, because I've always wanted to fight after wrestling, and once I had my shoulder surgery, that was kind of it for wrestling. I was like, if I am gonna plan on fighting, I should probably save my body for the brutality of fighting. So
yeah.
it was good. Um, I wouldn't change my experience for anything. I had a great college wrestling experience. I was wrestled really high level guys. My main training partner was actually the D2 national champion. So it was good. It was an experience that I'll take with me forever for sure.
And do you feel like that's why you went into the wrestling because you thought that was a good base to start their career afterwards?
No, so my mom actually pushed me to start wrestling when I was like 6, and I was like really into it. And I love the sport. I think it's just the truest sport in the world. And so does my mom. So she always pushed me to keep wrestling. And then once I got to high school, I took it super serious. I quit like every other like sport, and I just wrestled full time year round. And it's definitely shaped my fighting career, but I didn't get into it for fighting. Fighting kind of came with wrestling.
And what was it about MMA that really drew you to the sport?
So when I was in college, I got linked up with a pro fighter. I had no fight experience or anything, but what he wanted was a lot of guys to try to like come in and try to wrestle him. He was like
Yeah,
fighting a wrestler. So I came in a few times to wrestle him, and I got really into boxing because it was like a boxing gym, but he was an MMA fighter. So I got real into boxing, and I thought like I could be pretty good at boxing, and then also I had my wrestling background, so it just kind of made sense. And there's not much going on for wrestling outside of college unless you're Olympian level. And I was like real enough to say that I wasn't gonna make it to the Olympics. So I just started fighting, man, and then I started loving it, and then yeah, it's consumed my life. I've been obsessed ever since I started.
And then you also talk about doing the jiu-jitsu competitions as well between fights. How important do you feel like it is just to stay active and be able to do that? Like you're saying, you had a few fights drop out, so you were able to still keep that competitive spirit, keep active in these competitions.
Yeah, it definitely helps, and I thank my grappling coach, Chris Bauer, for that too. He always is trying to get me to compete in grappling. Even trying to get me signed up, trying to take me places to show my skills. I haven't gotten to do as many as I would like to. I would like to do more grappling competitions, but I'm very focused on making it in MMA to where I want to be. So right now, that's kind of on the back pedestal. I kind of just do it when I have time, whatever. I wish I could be more active in jiu-jitsu, but it's just hard.
And do you feel like with the UFC, they have got that big focus now on the grappling and the jiu-jitsu? They have got their own title now. Do you feel like them putting more interest in there just brings more eyes to the sport and gets more people into it?
I think it definitely brings more eyes to Brazilian jiu-jitsu when a company like as big as UFC starts getting behind it. I think it'll also push a lot more grapplers into MMA. I know like a lot of grapplers already dive into it, but I think once you put the two together, a lot of them are kind of going to become a hybrid where they compete in grappling and
Yeah.
compete in fighting. And I think that a lot of them already do. So I think that's kind of the stage we're headed where, you're going to get guys that are instead of just fighting MMA or doing jujitsu, you're going to get a lot more guys that are competing in jujitsu, fighting MMA, things like that.
And what's your plan after this? We are coming to around about the middle of the year. You've got your first fight of 2025. How many fights are you looking to get this year?
I'd like to get this one, get out of there, healthy. And I'd like to get another one in by the end of the year for sure. My plan is to fight right now, fight at the end of the year, and then have one ready to go at the beginning of next year. So try to rip off three in the next 6 months. I would have liked to have fought 3, 4 times this year. I've been ready to fight since since January. I've been trying to get a fight. So I definitely want to stay active. That's how you make it in this game. You got to stay active. You got to go, chase the dudes that are scary, and that's everything I'm about. So definitely as much activity as possible.
And what was it that kind of moved you from the amateur scene to the professional game? You didn't really have that much of an amateur career as much as it was successful. You got that title in the last fight. What was it that pushed you to get going to the pro game?
So I had 6 amateur fights, and then I did a kickboxing tournament, a national kickboxing tournament that I took second in. So we knew I was kind of just waiting for my experience to catch up, right? And then
Yeah.
yeah, I had a really good fight in my last amateur fight. I armbarred him in like a minute and a half. So it was kind of just one of those things because you have to add in the sacrifice and the time I spend doing the sport as into my experience as well. Because I may have only had 6 amateur fights, but for the last 2.5 years since I moved to Bower House to train full time, I could probably tell you there's less than 10 days where I didn't train at least once, and almost all of them was 2 or 3 times. So it's a lot of sacrifice. I put a lot into it. All of my, money, time, energy goes into it. So it's only right that I get paid for it. And I also know I can beat these guys.
And you are still relatively young as well. You are only 24. Heading into this game,
23, 23.
oh, 23. Oh yeah, sorry. And do you feel like you have got that benefit of time?
Yeah, I think not only do I have the benefit of time, but I think, when you look at me as a competitor, it's not like I started fighting and competing. I've been, stepping on mats against one other person for almost 15, 18 years now, or however many years since I was 6. So I have plenty of competition experience. And
Yeah.
I think, Yeah, man, it's just time for me to go pro, and I'm ready.
And how are you going to celebrate this victory? What is on the agenda?
I am going to put on a master class of MMA, and then I'm going to celebrate with my boys, my training partners, and my girlfriend, and then I'm going to take my girlfriend to the beach. That's my plan. She's done a lot. She's a huge help to me. She sacrifices just as much as I do for this to happen, and I'm beyond grateful for her. So she definitely deserves a little vacation after this for sure.
Yeah, because how much is it that you have to have the correct support system around you? Because they do go for it. You may just have an off day and they pick you up and get you to the gym. You have to deal with the moods of the weight cuts and that.
Yeah, it's I think having a support system is right up there with, having a good coach. It's everything. If you are going to the gym and you're not coming home to like people that like want you to do this or people that are doubting that you can do this, it's gonna be a lot harder mentally. But everyone I know, my mom is the biggest supporter in my life. Right under that, my sisters and my girlfriend. Everyone around me pushes me and knows my potential, so they're willing to sacrifice whatever they have to make it happen too. And it's not a total one person job. My
Yeah.
my family goes through a lot. My girlfriend goes through a lot. So it's just I have people counting on me. So and I know that pushes me.
And guys, make sure you tune in to the 247 SC Brawl at the Bar 29, where you can see Noah go and get his first round victory in his professional debut. Is there anything you're wanting to add or anyone you're wanting to shout out?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say thank you to all my, coaches, training partners, obviously my family, all of my sponsors. It's been a long camp, and because of my sponsors and because of the people around me, I've been able to take a lot of stress off of my life and 100% focus on fighting. So every one of you listening that knows me personally, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and let's go take this dude out.
And we can't wait to see you get that victory, and we'll be able to speak afterwards as well.